concerned.
So after hearing this presentation, I guess we should start to build this tomorrow.
No. Well, what's interesting about this presentation is certainly there is a difference in opinion on numbers. But if I'm looking at their numbers, they still say this is a $1.3 billion project. From 1.8 to 1.3, well, that's $500 million. It's a big difference. 1.3 billion would still make it more expensive than the West LRT. It would still make it the most expensive public works project in Calgary's history. So obviously, there's a lot more questions, including who's got $1.3 billion.
Where's the discrepancy in the figures?
I think it's wrong to focus on the discrepancy because we could go back and forth and fight about the discrepancy. The point is, even their best case scenario is still a lot of money that we don't have, and that's something we'll have to address.
Mayor, one of the things that came up during the questions was this idea of upfronting the cost rather than CRL or what have you. And then Ken said, well, you have to speak to ownership about that because the negotiation act. Would it be more appealing to council if the Flames were to upfront some of the costs that they were going to upfront?
Well, certainly that saves some money because when we look at the financing costs, the Flames financing costs are pegged at $231 million. If memory serves, the financing cost in the city's report was around $400 million. But that means that the owners would be putting in another $200 million. Certainly they haven't offered to do that, in my knowledge, and so can't answer that question. I'm not sure he had the right number in his head.
Does the city lend out use of its credit facilities?
No, we don't normally do that, but there may be ways to manage a guarantee on that. I don't know.
What about mediation happening at the same time with sources?
That was actually probably the most interesting thing about that I heard this morning. However, the challenge with that is that if you're using a CRL mechanism, that means that you have to have the other office buildings built first. And if you're remediating only the land for the stadium and the arena, that means you're not remediating the land that's required for the office buildings, which means the CRL won't balance. So all of these things are actually intricately tied to one another.
When they were talking about going in as a team, whether it's speaking with the province or speaking with the federal government about debt possibly funding, do you see any willingness on any change over the last few months with the province or the federal?
No, not at all. In fact, I still have not received any positive words towards even whether the provincial government would approve a CRL. Because remember, a CRL, that's half the province's money. And so I haven't seen any indication from them that they would to date. But we do have to work together on this. And I was happy to hear Mr. King this morning say that he's willing to also work on Plan B because that has not been the case up until about last week. So, there's some work to be done there as well.
What about the Olympic tie?
Oh no, Mr. King's right about this one. It's just a coincidence that it's happening at the same time. That the discussion is happening at the same time. And the Olympic discussion is so far behind this discussion that it doesn't make any sense to tie them together.
Happy coincidence.
It's a coincidence. I think I called it a fortuitous coincidence. I'm not sure if that word means what I think it means, but clearly, if you were going to go forward with an Olympic bid, you need more facilities. But whether those facilities look like CalgaryNEXT, well, you certainly don't need a new stadium. So it's a very different question.
Going to wrap this up, folks. Just a couple more questions.
Well, as far as the city and CMLC are concerned, you'll recall in April, Council passed a motion to ask CMLC to do work on Plan B, and I know that work has really been moving forward quite a pace, but I know that up until last week, they didn't have the information they felt they needed from Calgary Sports and Entertainment Group. I understand that has changed now.
Last question, folks.
Oui, en français, dans le monde de passer de 1,8 à l'examen des chiffres, c'est quoi avant?
C'est pas vraiment utile de parler de 500 millions de dollars différence, parce que c'est vraiment 1,3 milliard de dollars et on ne peut pas l'argent.